46 buys, 3 holds, and just 1 sell rating on the stock. Ed Zabitsky is with ACI Research. He is the man with the 1 sell rating on the stock. His price target, $270. Ed, a pleasure to speak with you.
Good to speak with you too, Melissa.
You've been at a sell rating since 2009 after you launched coverage of Apple, I believe. A couple months later, you downgraded it. You missed this tremendous run. Ed, I have to ask you, do people buy your research? Because who would buy a report that had advised you to be at a sell rating on Apple since 2009? They missed a tremendous opportunity if they followed your recommendation.
Right. Well, there's more to the world than Apple, first of all. I know everyone on Wall Street believes the sun revolves around Apple now, but it actually is not true. What people use me for is ecosystem research, so they're looking for inflection points in the market, and I allow them to use their own heads. You know, we could talk about my calls all day, but I don't think, you know, there's more complexity than just my call on Apple. There's a tremendous market inflection point going on, and it's happening. It's just Wall Street is totally oblivious to it for the moment.
So is this an inflection point that you're saying is happening over the span of multi-years? Because it has been 3 years since you've been at a sell rating, and that inflection, at least for this particular stock, despite all of your ecosystem research, has not happened.
Absolutely. So look, you have to follow along with the story, and the story is web apps. Web apps are changing the world, and Microsoft just rang the bell at Mobile World Congress this week. You have a 1.25 billion Windows users who are going to be using web apps with Windows 8. Facebook, for example, has over 100 million web app users now versus only 57 million iOS and Android users. So people are getting it, and they're moving away from this paradigm. Yeah. And the bell's been rung. It's over.
But Ed, I mean, you can be right for an awfully long time, but the market may not be with you. Would you at least admit that this is a great trade? I mean, Apple has risen 40% or thereabouts in the last month. Its price valuation is 12 or 13 times earnings with $1 billion in the bank.
Well, the problem with that argument is really that it's based on a closed ecosystem and based on 60% gross margins on the iPhone. So I think that the PE has to be looked in that regard. Plus, you know, I did see the rise of the Android ecosystem a couple of years ago, and it's done spectacularly well. What I didn't see was the utter collapse of every other mobile operating system. I mean, it's incredible how all these companies did not execute. And it's also incredible how well Apple executed during this period. I mean, it's just been spectacular.
So, Ed, we've been focusing on Apple, but just out of curiosity, what's your top pick?
Right now, I don't have any top picks, and that's because there are changes going on the long side. There are changes going on that are just so huge. Moving toward a fully web-connected world, toward web apps, is going to cause so much disruption and so much expense for all the companies that are involved in the PC and cell phone ecosystem that we've just got to wait for the shakeout. You just have to step out of the way and wait. Even if you're not thinking about shorting stocks, right, you have to step out of the way and wait for these changes to happen. The world just all of a sudden got 1,000 bridges across the river. Apple built a great bridge, but HTML5 and web apps are going to change everything.
All right, Ed, thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time. Ed Zabitsky of ACI.